All right, hello guys, and welcome to the Messengers of Hermes show. We did a little bit of rebranding from the last couple episodes. I'm joined by Logan. Um,
Hello.
Unfortunately, we had a little bit of an oopsie in the last episode, so you missed out on Logan last episode. But you
Yeah, I got
know,
kicked out.
yeah, he got kicked for an episode. But we are back to review episode 4. And Logan, what are your initial thoughts? Just any of your summed up thoughts about the episode?
Mixed like always, but a little on the better side for once. Kind of liked it.
Yeah, I think
It
it
was very
almost
interesting.
it was almost a reverse of last episode because the last episode I didn't like a lot of the character writing.
Hmm.
But this episode I liked a lot of the character writing. I thought a lot of the character writing was the highlights of the show. I think the thing that maybe brought it down a little bit for me, I don't think there was a ton of negatives that were as glaring as like the last episode. There was just like
No,
minor things here and there. Like I don't think the villain, by the way, you're gonna have to help me on pronunciation,
oh
Logan,
God, I don't
because
even know how.
I wrote them down the best way I thought they would be spelled. But if we get those wrong, feel free to let us know in the comments. But the villain or the monster in this episode was not nearly as interesting as Medusa. It's definitely a step
Mm-mm.
down.
Yep.
But you have the good and the bad, right? I like that they focused more on our trio of characters in this time, and because there's gonna be a lot of monsters, right? You don't got to make every single monster really interesting or really significant. Some of them just are gonna be there, and so yeah, I think I liked it more than. Honestly, I think this is probably my favorite episode of
It
the
was a very
four.
good one. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Not for personal reasons either.
Like, it's weird because I would have thought, given off of the book, my favorite episode would have been episode 3, but
Hmm.
they just did some things that I didn't like in that episode. But yeah, I think episode 4, a lot of things I did enjoy. So let's hop in to the beginning of the episode. So we have this opening shot with Percy and his mom, for him trying to swim. I can very much relate to Percy in this. I did not want
Hmm.
to swim when I was young. Um, I will say, I mean, I know, it's a younger kid. The younger actor of Percy is not my favorite, but
No.
it's hard to judge him because he is a younger kid and you're really just looking for someone that looks like the older Percy.
I mean, yeah, he does pretty good as a young Percy, so I'll take it. Like you said,
Yeah,
it's hard to get a like not even a
yeah,
kid actor, a child actor
yeah.
to really play the role.
I mean, yeah, he's very young. It's very similar to the whole Star Wars Phantom Menace younger Anakin type situation, but you know.
Hmm.
So we get another vision of, someone that I won't reveal because it is kind of a spoiler in my opinion of who I think it is, but telling him that he is basically this forbidden hero because again, the big three aren't supposed to have kids. That's actually kind of a big talking point. I like that they connected that with like Thalia and how they connect Percy and her, which I thought was pretty good. I thought this opening stuff before the action kind of picks up was my favorite part of the episode because we finally like actually get something for our characters, especially Annabeth. Like we get some motivation as to why she's been treating Percy the way she is. I kind of think it works. I still think they leaned a little too heavily into it in the first couple episodes, but I think this does reasonably explain it a bit. I don't know if it worked for you, Logan, but it kind of worked for me a decent amount.
It helped, yeah. I still didn't like how rude she's been in the the past
Yeah.
few episodes, but it was nice to finally see some connection between the two. Not even in anything serious, just like actually talking to him as a human.
Yeah.
Just being friendly for once was nice.
It just feels more natural. The two seem to have like much
Yes,
more
yeah.
chemistry. This is how it feels to me. It feels like the first 3 episodes, it felt like Percy and Annabeth, or even their actors off screen, didn't really have like it was like their first introduction into each other. Whereas like
Hmm.
episode 4 feels like, some time has passed and like they actually interact with each other like normal people, where like they can joke with each other. It doesn't always seem like Annabeth is being mean to Percy or talking down to him. And so all of that was really good. Now, one thing I don't remember from episode 3, I don't remember if this was explained and I just didn't listen or something, but I know how they get on this train in the book. In the show, is it ever really explained, or are we just going with they still have the money they had at the beginning? Like,
I'm
they
guessing
never
there's
lost it.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're going with the money because at the end of last episode, they were kind of just leaving the Medusa's house, really. I don't remember anything else after that.
Yeah,
And then all of a sudden, they're just on a train in this episode, so I
I'm
guess that was.
assuming it's different than in the book, because I don't think it's ever made that, like, in the show that they lose all their money, because in the book they do.
Mhm.
So I think they just removed that, which is probably a good idea, given the
It's
way
gonna.
that they get money in the book
Mhm.
is really kind of convenient. But
Yeah, yeah, it's really gonna help push the show
yeah,
along, so that way it's not as long as, like, a 15, 16 episode,
yeah, agreed.
season, because they only get, what, 8 or
Yeah,
10?
they have 8.
Yeah,
We're at the halfway point right now, so
already at the halfway point, so it's probably good that they don't lose their money in the TV show just to keep it moving along.
yeah, because the way they get it in the book is really weird. It's literally Grover talks to this pink, I think it's a poodle, and there's a like it's run away from home, and so they go deliver it back to the family and they get $200 for it. So it's a really
Wow.
weird like little subplot or whatever,
Little side mission,
but more
side
or
quest.
less the conversation when they're actually on the train was something I was really looking forward to, because I knew like because I read the book last night just to catch up on like where we are in the story. And this is a very important part of the story, because a lot of Annabeth and Percy's deeper connection begins here. Like they kind of have more of a connection in the book up to this point, but this is where it kind of expands on their past, what they're kind of worried about, things like that. And we get into this like idea of the reason Annabeth goes so hard on Percy is because that's the way Talia or Thalia was to Annabeth. And so I think that
Mhm.
works really well, because again, you learn from the people that are like the people you look up to. So, for
Yep.
instance, your parents or an older brother or, a friend or something. So I think that does work really well, showing that Percy kind of has to earn her trust and respect.
Mhm.
Another thing I really like about this conversation is we get Percy questioning like the way the gods treat them. You have to do offerings just so you can get a blessing by the gods, or you can talk to them or whatever. You can't really talk to them, but you get kind of the point, get gifts or whatnot. Or just to even get Percy's or his father's attention, he has to beat Clarice, someone that's like been training her entire life, is a child of the god of war. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of insane. And that kind of like is going to loop into a lot of the plot of this episode specifically, because there is one part of this episode that I didn't really understand that much. Um, and we'll talk about when we get there, but I think the way we go about the arch sequence, which is much different than in the book,
Yes.
is interesting, given that I feel like they almost created something that didn't need to be there on how Athena like treats Annabeth. I find it very wild that we make the arch this temple of Athena, which is fine, right? That all adds up. But then the fact that the idea of how the monsters can get in, or the monster can get in, is because Athena just doesn't care and she just lets it in because they put Medusa's head to Olympus. It's like, out of everyone, why
Yeah.
would Athena care? Like,
Yeah, really.
Athena's the one that cursed Medusa. Like, I don't really feel like she would care. Zeus would care, but
Zeus be angry. Poseidon might be angry just because, that was that lady he liked, and she's like, "Damn, my son just went and killed that one girl I liked."
yeah,
It's
but at
kinda
the
rude.
same time, I feel like Poseidon
Yeah.
also wouldn't care, because it's like Medusa
Yeah,
did try to kill his son, and now it's
that's
like,
true.
how the gods are. Like, Medusa's not hot anymore, so he wouldn't care.
Yeah, he's moved on.
Well, as I say that, I mean, the actress that played Medusa was pretty, she was pretty hot. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good
I
actress
could,
for it.
I could see why Poseidon fell for her. That's all I'm gonna say. Um, but yeah, all of that's pretty good. We also get Annabeth's dad. So I got a slight change. I don't know why they did this. Maybe because they want it to be where Annabeth's dad and her are a lot maybe closer than in the book. Because in the book, it's like Annabeth straight up feels like her dad didn't want her. It was an inconvenience to her father, and she was basically a castaway like the entire time. Like nobody loved her or whatever. And in the show, they kind of go with this idea that like her father, did love her and all those things, but As soon as this other woman came to the picture, that's when Annabeth felt like she wasn't wanted, that she was a problem. I think
Mm-hmm.
the reason they may have done that is in future seasons, if there is some sort of connection for Annabeth, it's a much easier to like connect because Annabeth still loves her father, more or less. So I think, again, exploring that background is good for her character. Changing it up, I don't think means that much in the way they executed it. But then we get some Marvel comedy, and this is some good Marvel comedy with Grover. Everything with Grover in this scene is just on point. But I really felt like this reminded me so much of like you're at your friend's house and you're having a sleepover, and they're like, you have those two friends that are just talking the entire time, and then they ask you, "Are you asleep?" It's like, how do you think I'm gonna be asleep?
How
It's
could I
like,
sleep with y'all talking that much?
you guys are out here yelling over here. I know. I'm just trying to say, dude, I've never related to Grover so much. Like, I need my sleep, okay? And you guys are disrupting my sleep. I'm going to be a moody little dude.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And so at this point, we cut to morning and we see something hit the train. I was very frustrated with Disney Plus because I don't pay for the ad-free version. And as the thing like hit the train, I got an ad and I was like, okay,
Oh.
okay. But yeah, so we also get some interesting points here. Like, how do they know where the underworld is? Like, they're just going to Los Angeles to go to Los Angeles. I thought that was interesting foresight by like Percy. It's like, down the road, like say we even get there. How do we even get to the
We
underworld?
find it.
Like,
Yeah.
where is it? But all that's pretty interesting. Again, it's just kind of filling out, I think, the characters with this whole opening. I think it's about 15 minutes of the first or this episode,
Yep.
which was all pretty good. I think it was at its strongest then. We see a shot of the centaurs, which is also good. One thing I do have to complain about that I will talk about with Grover is they almost tease us with what Grover's motivation is in the book, and then they take it away like very quickly. So like we have this introduction of Pan. Pan is very, very important to the story. And we see how he has disappeared and how humans are destroying Pan's world. It's really just this idea of us humans are destroying the environment type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we get all this, and it's almost about to be applied to Grover because of like his uncle, and his uncle was going off to try to search for Pan, and he ended up dying. But then we stop. It's just, there's no more of this. Like, this is like Grover's big, big moment, right? Him and Annabeth get really big moments in dialogue and character building at this point of the story. And they, again, just don't do it. And I don't know why. They know it's there because they keep, like, teasing it. They keep putting it there. And now, like, I don't know. It's just hard to look at it and go, okay, we've now missed this whole meeting with the Council of Elders or whatever in the beginning in episode 1, or is it episode 1 or 2? I think it's episode 2.
It's episode 2. They started. I think he was talking to the one lady, but then that was it.
Yeah, and then they do a cut, and it's supposed to all be about how Percy's mom is still alive. And it's like, okay. I mean, I feel like Grover is really getting shafted right now, but at least they introduce it, so maybe they could do something with it in the future. I don't know. It's very frustrating to see them know that they could do something with it and then take it away. I don't know if you disagree with that at all, but that's how I read that situation.
I wish they didn't. I wish they could delve more into it, but I don't think we ever will get something like the book in it. So in the show, I guess we just gotta take what we can get.
Which is weird, not to get into spoilers, because in season like 4 or 5 of this show,
It's pretty important.
It's very important.
Yeah,
like it's very significant to the story. Like Grover's, this is what I talk about. Grover's entire character arc is built on this Pan thing. So them not choosing to dive deeper into that is very frustrating from a book viewer point of view. But yeah. So we also get Percy kind of talking about the prophecy and how this quest is destined to fail, and really get some good wisdom here that, I think Anakin from Star Wars should have listened to. But you sometimes can't like decipher these prophecies, right? You just kind of got to go with the flow. Like the more you start looking into it, the more you maybe will cause that outcome to happen and do something stupid or bad. All that's really good from Annabeth. It kind of shows her wisdom, which we don't always get in this show. The showrunners try to show us that she's wise, and at times it doesn't really come off. Here it finally did kind of show up as being a very wise moment for her.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where they really divert from the book quite a lot, and I don't really know why. And I do think like this is a good episode. I don't think this is as significant as some other things they've changed. But I just like I look at the way the book does it, and the book does this way better. I don't understand why you change this. And it's not like it's a budget thing because they more or less do the same thing. It's just the order of events are vastly different. So I want to ask you, Logan, before we really dive into this, were your thoughts on the way they handled this entire scene of like the arch and stuff like that?
I liked it just because it's St. Louis and we're
We
both
also,
from the
yeah,
area. Yeah,
yep,
so it's a personal kind of thing. I
yep,
enjoyed seeing it because I haven't been since the renovation actually, and so it
mm-hmm,
looks pretty cool. So
yep,
might have to go sometime now. But I kind of wish they kept it more like the book when they
yep.
go down to Tennessee. But at the same time, with the route they're going now, because they're taking the train and it's different from the book, I understand them ending up in St. Louis rather than, was it Memphis?
Oh no, they
Or it
still
was
end up in St.
Nashville.
Louis in the book.
Yeah, but in the book, that's where that one big scene happens. And I was kind of hoping for that. Wasn't St. Louis kind of quick?
No, St. Louis is like what happens in the show, basically.
Oh, really? Oh,
This is what
damn.
here. I'll give you a quick run of what happens. Basically, they're in the train. Annabeth sees the arch, and because she's such an architect guru, she's like, "We're gonna make a pit stop. We're gonna go see the arch." They
Okay.
go in the arch.
Hmm.
They run into an older lady with a dog, and then they get separated. Annabeth and Grover have to go in one of those little, things that go up into the arch, and then
Hmm.
Percy, is about to go up, and then he gets attacked by the lady and her dog, and more or less the same thing happens. There's a whole
Oh,
Percy
okay.
jumps through it more or less because he can't win, and then he gets saved by his dad. So
Well,
yeah,
shit, my bad. This really shows you how long it's been since I've read
I
the
know.
books.
That's why I
Okay.
reread for every
Yes.
thing,
Well,
but
if I had the books, I would.
it's okay.
Well, Deb really needs to start reading now. But oh, now that you said that, I like the scene. Yeah, yeah. That's all
Yeah.
I got.
Well, okay. So the thing, before we talk about the entire sequence of events,
Yeah.
the thing I like about the book version compared to the show version is the book version, you kind of have this buildup of conflict where it's like you can kind of tell there's something wrong about going to the arch. Annabeth is really the only person that wants to go, and it's because of her architecture. That's what she wants to be when she grows up. So it's very
Hmm.
important to see the arch. And Percy and Grover are just like, yeah, this is a bad idea. And there's just like this building up of bad tension. This older lady, like it kind of seems like something's sus about this, and then it all kind of breaks as soon as they leave. Or Annabeth and Grover split off from Percy, and you have this fight scene, and it works really well because it's like a really good way of building tension and then having a fight. My thing with the way the show did it, it's not bad, right? It's not bad. It's definitely not bad. It's a little sloppy in the way they do it because it's not a lot of buildup. Like it's just instantly who did it. Like as
Hmm.
soon as you see this old lady and their cabin's been broken into, it's this person. And like they don't even like that's again kind of the way they did it with Medusa. They don't even try to hide it, which I don't mind, but I think the way the book did it was much better. But again, I don't hate it. But at the same time, I also don't understand. It's like if we're gonna go to the arch, why not just wait to get to the arch and then reveal it?
Yeah.
It's just kind of a weird sequence of events because I was sitting here going, wait, I know that the arch is going to be in this episode because that's what the title, like it's basically in the title or it's in the description of the title.
Hmm.
And so I was like sitting here like, okay, wait, so are they just going to go like after they defeat this monster, just go look at the arch or something? And I was just so confused, but it's not, it's not a bad way of doing it. I think it's fine. But yeah. So we see an officer come up to them asking about their cabin. They see that their cabin is kind of messed up. Somebody's been looking for something. But we also get classic Annabeth. We get a little bit of that reversion where Annabeth just isn't smart. Why would you antagonize a police officer? Basically yell at a police officer. It makes no sense. Like you are asking to get arrested. And don't.
Hmm.
So it's the same thing that she does with Medusa that I hate. I wish they would get rid of that part of Annabeth because that's not Annabeth. Annabeth does not do stupid stuff like that. But that those things that she does is what Percy does. Those are things Percy does to get them in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so they're basically put on arrest. Someone is looking for the Master Bolt, and then the lady asks to sit with. Well, hold on. The lady then asks to sit with her quote unquote dog. Again, we know it's not a dog, but I love that the lady kind of comes off as a Karen. That's the vibe I got instantly. It's like this lady's just a Karen, dude. But
Definitely, yep.
the Grover kind of puts it together already. There's glass on her shirt, and that must be her that broke into their cabin. And again, I noted in my notes, entirely different on the book, but we see that she is revealed as Exinda or Acinda, something like that. I don't know. And she is the mother of monsters, which is quite cool. Given that we fight a lot of monsters, but that is quite cool that this is the mother.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, but you also being the mother of all monsters, you think she'd be a bigger character in the series. I always thought that was
Yeah,
funny. It's kind of like,
it is quite weird,
hmm.
but I guess her kids have outgrown her. That's all I got to say.
Fair, yeah.
To be honest, though, like even though she is the mother of monsters, like we didn't really see her do much, so
Yeah,
it was more like monster attack.
yeah, I guess maybe she doesn't do much. I don't remember in the book,
In the book,
so
she doesn't do much either. So
oh, she does. So just all around, she doesn't do.
yeah, she just doesn't do much. It's just more like, oh yeah, she's just like sick 'em. Like
Yeah.
that's about it.
Maybe she's she's a Pokemon trainer. They're a Pokemon for her, more or
That's
less.
true. That's true.
Instead of catching, she makes them all.
That's fair. But
Yeah.
we also see for kind of a while, she basically just starts taunting them. There isn't really much that's written about this character, really. She basically thinks that demigods are monsters because the demigods kill her children, more or less. Even though they're not really killed, they come back anyway. So,
Yeah,
but whatever.
that's fair.
But they basically, she's trying to play on their fear that her Chimaya, is that how you say it? Or I don't know.
Chimera.
Chimera, I couldn't remember what it was. So they,
Camaro.
that sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that they can track
something like that.
their fear, which is an interesting ability.
Mm-hmm.
And so the trio definitely take off. They ain't about to stay around with this thing. It's, we don't actually get to see what it looks like until a lot later in the episode, but it looks pretty menacing. I would be out of there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, we get to them running off the train, but we also get this nice shot of like, I don't know. Okay, so I'm assuming the shot of the dog on the side of the train was supposed to be the monster, as the mist is showing it like as a small dog. Or it could have just been a random small dog. Because it's kind of weird because the monster we know is in the train, but then we get this shot of this family looking and they see a dog.
Little bitty dog.
So I don't
Little
know if this is just a wink to the book, because in the book it's very much like a little dog for a while before it turns into the monster, or if it is supposed to be the monster in the mist.
I think it's supposed to be the monster in the mist. Just
that's what
I
would like to think so.
It. Yeah,
that's how I would like to think it is, but maybe it wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I will say, if that's the thing, if that was the creature in the mist, I would like to see how the mist explains that dog breaking that one train door like it does. Freaking it bent that full metal door pretty hard.
I don't know. That's one of those where I'd be like,
I want to see that animated. I want to see that.
Somehow it'll get blamed on Percy. That's all I know.
Yeah, fair. That's true.
Percy threw a grenade at it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, where to get one? Don't ask.
But we also learn while Percy and the group was trying to run away, they do get attacked a little bit by it, and its stinger goes in Percy, which is another interesting change because we don't see Percy get poisoned really during this part, because again the fight with the how do you say it, Logan?
Chimera, I think.
Chimera. Okay.
Yeah.
So the way that goes down is it's one fight and the fight's over. It's not like a fight and then there's a lot of downtime and then another fight. So again, interesting decision to do that, but I don't hate it. But we get another great shot of kind of the monster breaking in, like Logan talked about, coming through this store. I really want to point out that the directors of this show really know how to build a horror shot. Like, they really are good at that. Like, I've noticed that now in the last episode and this episode. They do a good job of making the monsters intimidating. Like, they're coming to kill you. It's not just, oh yeah, this is something for our heroes to kill or whatever. And then I also noted that the music was also really good. These sequences of the monsters attacking or trailing our heroes very good. Who did it and made the music for the show did a fantastic job.
Top notch.
We see them head towards the Arch. As Annabeth explains, it is a sanctuary for Athena's kid. I also love that this is a very small attention to detail, but Annabeth the entire time is talking about how cool the architecture is and all that stuff. Kind of seems very nerdy. And it's I love that, because that's exactly how it is in the book. It's exactly the same.
It's correct to the book for once, and I like it.
Yeah, and it also gives Annabeth more of a personality. Like, we haven't seen anything that, like, Annabeth is really, like, she enjoys or likes to do or anything like that. So I really like that they gave her, like, more in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But Grover, at this point, goes to see if they can get another train, while we kind of see Percy and Annabeth have their little moment together. Another good moment by them. But we also see Grover getting more done. Is like, he doesn't like the way humans are killing monsters, hunting, those things, very environmentalist kind of stuff. Yep. And that really fits into Grover's character well. That's all stuff from the book as well. But we also learn, which I think I already talked about in this review, the Arch cannot be infiltrated by monsters because it's Athena's, like, sanctuary, her temple, whatever.
Yeah, it's her shrine, yeah.
Which, again, when we get to it, I'm gonna, like, talk about it more, but I don't know why you even bring that plot point in versus what they're doing in this moment, but we see some good moments between Annabeth and Percy talking about their parents, how each respond to their parents. So, for instance, Annabeth loves and unconditionally loves her mother, or Athena, whereas Percy doesn't like Poseidon, right?
Never knew him. He never helped him until he did something absolutely crazy. So he's like, well, I don't want to do that just for you to give me some attention for once.
Exactly. And I think it even goes further in the book, where it's like, in the book, Percy is very much being used by Poseidon. It's not this whole, like, thing where he claims him to claim him, all that. No, like, he's doing it so that Percy will help stop this war, and he's using him. So there's a lot of that frustration, a lot of that anger, because where has Poseidon been, right? Percy's gone through a number of life-threatening events. Even now, he's dying because of this poison. I'm assuming he's dying. They don't make it explicitly clear that he will die because of this poison, but this is what I assume would happen.
I'm guessing. I mean, the Chimera is what they say, the demigod killing creature, so...
That's why I assumed, but I wasn't sure if it was just like one of these poisons that just weakens you. It keeps you in, like, a weakened state.
Oh, yeah.
But
fair.
I would assume it would kill you. So even then, it's like, okay, they even try this thing later. It's not exactly right now, but when they do this thing where they're trying to splash water on Percy and it's not working, it's like, okay, Poseidon, really? Like, come on, man.
I actually did have a little theory about that. I'm not too sure how true it would be, but in ancient mythology for Greeks, back when they were making Athens, it was a competition between Athena and Poseidon, who would be the controller of that city. And so I'm really pushing here with this, but when they were doing it, Poseidon was like, I could give you guys a well that can give you perfectly good water, and Athena was like, oh, I could do this. I don't remember what it was, and they declined Poseidon, and he ended up getting angry at them. And I'm guessing maybe it's a grudge he still holds on to Athena to losing that city, to where any water in her temples or anything related to her doesn't actually work with him.
That's a very good idea. I like that idea as to why it wouldn't heal Percy. They went a little bit with more if it's like you need to be actually like at a like river or whatever,
actual moving water,
or a lake or something. But I like that idea. I think that makes a lot of sense.
It would make sense. Yeah,
it ties into the lore as well. So
yes, it does.
But yeah, I also just wanted to note once again, music is fantastic,
on point as always.
And again, we see our crew go up to the Arch. And this is meant to be because I think it said like the highest point was where they could ask for Athena's help. Is that what it was?
Yeah. They were saying like that's where the actual shrine is. Like the whole thing's a temple, but like the place to go and pray, or I don't know if you'd offer her a sacrifice up there or what, would be at the very top of the arch.
But this is when we get this big reveal, because we see our villains come into the temple or the sanctuary, and you're sitting here going, wait a minute. Wait a dang minute. They just said they can't get it. No monsters can come in here. Okay? Without Athena's permission. So that means to tell me that Athena was completely fine with this monster that is a demigod killer, letting them come into her sanctuary monsters, by the way, the mother of monsters,
Yeah, the mother is boss of all of them, head honcho.
to then kill her daughter. Okay, let's just throw that out there. And also, Athena is wise enough to know, this is also, I believe, a plot point in the book, that, like, Percy is not the person that stole this lightning bolt, right? So, her letting this thing kill Percy also doesn't make any sense. I mean, again, she doesn't like Poseidon, so she wouldn't like his kids either, but Annabeth is supposed to, or not Annabeth, Athena is supposed to be like the wisest god or goddess.
And she's the goddess of wisdom. It's in her name.
And so it just comes off very weird. And then the explanation is like, oh, Medusa's head was sent to Olympus and Athena was embarrassed by that. Like, how? How? Are we going to say because Medusa used to be a worshiper of Athena? So you cut off her head? Kind of weird. Like, if anything, you would think Athena would be proud because it was Annabeth's, again, it was her plan that ended up killing Medusa. But okay, that was my biggest like issue with this. I don't like this explanation because I think you could have easily have just gone with, oh yeah, it's a sanctuary to Athena, but monsters can still get in it. Like,
they couldn't
just do that. You can just don't have to say this stupid thing. But on the other hand, though, something that comes out of this, and maybe this is why they did this plot point, is it will make Annabeth think about Athena, right? Like, her mother allowed her to nearly be killed. Because there was a situation in which Annabeth was going to, stay back to save Percy and Grover to buy them time. That would have resulted in Annabeth's death. So that is something that maybe as we go forward, Annabeth's going to think about. And so when we have a character like Percy, who has not liked his father, he doesn't like the gods, he now gets a big favor from his father in helping him survive and teach him to breathe underwater and all these things. Maybe the two characters might have like a little bit of a switch where Annabeth is like, okay, the gods basically have just betrayed me, and Percy kind of starts maybe liking the gods a little bit more. Not a lot, but maybe a little bit more flipping those two, which could be good. We then get to, again, they're still running away, and Annabeth tells them to separate. Annabeth says she will sacrifice herself, and we get a nice Percy tricking Annabeth scene. And it definitely does catch you off guard. It would catch me off guard. It catches Annabeth off guard, where Percy is offering his sword to her, which is an interesting little moment. At this, Percy switches them, and Percy will fight, even though he's poisoned, to, buy them time. And this is great for Percy, because this is just who Percy is, standing up for his friends, standing up against the bully, being kind of a heroic figure. All of that works really well for Percy. And we finally do get the design of the monster. I think this was, again, done for budgeting reasons, because this is the first time we see the monster in really like the last 5 minutes.
Yep. Yeah, so just for the little bit of a fight we get at the end.
Yeah.
It was very well made one, though, I will say.
Yeah, it was very well. And I like the idea here that Percy, even though he is doing this heroic thing, like, he is not even putting a dent in the monster. Like, he is getting absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, he stabs it, or he slashes at its, I guess at its leg, not really its foot, but there at that area, and then it just slaps him like a little bitch. Like,
yeah, I literally noted down, it bitch slapped him. But I also thought the fire, when it breathes fire, that is some of the most beautiful CGI of the entire, like, show. It was just, it was very visually pleasing to look at. But at this point, we see that there has been a hole made, and we see that Percy is knocked into the hole by the monster. He is basically hanging on for dear life, and at this, he falls with a great shot as he falls into the water. I will say, I'm not a fan of a lot of the cuts to black. I'm not a fan of that. It didn't really look that appeasing. It's so weird because it was good shots that were edited poorly, in my opinion. Like, the in-between from shot to shot was not very good. They needed some better transitions, but either way, I still thought it was fine. We then see a river spirit, I'm assuming. I don't know if that's what it actually is or not.
I guess, like the,
again,
what are they called? Nymphs?
Yes, it could be that.
Yeah,
I think it's something like that. It's something like that, but basically delivering a message from Poseidon to tell Percy that he's proud of him, that he needs to trust in himself and also trust in Poseidon, and that also that he can breathe in water. So this is how he's going to end up, surviving this whole encounter, given that he's so far down right now in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically how the episode ends. I thought, solid place ending. It was a solid place. It wasn't the best.
It was good, but they definitely could have done better, especially with this episode only being 30 minutes or like 32 in total.
You know what? Honestly, I would have done. This would not I don't think people would have liked this, but I think this would have been a better ending. The ending is actually just when Percy falls down. Like, you don't even hit the water, you leave it on a cliffhanger. Like, what's going to happen to Percy?
Yeah. That top-down view when he just lets go of the beam.
Yeah.
That would have been a perfect spot.
That would have been a good spot, because then the next episode, you can kind of do it how, again, the movie wasn't good, but it's very similar to like how the movie starts, where it's like he's under the water and all that. You could have that be how the episode starts in episode 5, but
that would have been a good one. And then get some like flashbacks to the water coming and getting him in that weird tentacle look thing again.
Yeah, again, I think all that would have worked well, but I think the thing we keep coming back to, this episode was less than 30 minutes. So
very short, yeah.
It was only 32 minutes runtime. That is not accounting for the catch up at the beginning, the intro, and then also the outro, which is about 4 minutes long usually. Yep. So this episode was only 27 minutes worth of runtime.
Yeah, around there, yeah.
So, which is actually significantly lower than I think the other episodes. But yeah, I think the problem is just 8 episodes. The episodes aren't very long. They're all less than 40 minutes. I'd like to see if this show does well. I don't know what numbers Disney's pulling in for this first season. I think for the most part, people that I've seen answering my polls, the way people have commented, it's been mostly positive, kind of similar where we are, where it's like a 7, 8 out of 10, pretty much every episode. By the way, I would give this episode an 8 out of 10 for me personally. But Logan, what'd you give it?
I'd give it a solid 8 this time, if not closer to a 9. It was just it was a lot better than the other ones. Still needs some work, but I'm not going to complain about it one bit.
I agree. I think I would give it a higher grade if it was a bit longer, if they'd explored more into like Grover's background, and then if the fight stuff or the whole monster chase sequence, that whole second half of the episode wasn't as clunky, because there was a little bit of clunky stuff in there. But again, I thought, pretty good episode. I think a pretty good building block as we go forward, because the next episode is going to be very important. Just based upon where we're going with the story, without any spoilers, the next episode is one of the most probably important. It's going to be, of the first 5 episodes, it will be the most important. So I'm interested to see how they do it. I feel like it should be a longer episode next week. Hopefully. I'm not sure what they'll do with it, but it is a lot there that they have to cover. But let us know down in the comments what you thought about the episode, what you would give it, any complaints, not complaints, whatever.
And I also want to add on.
Go ahead.
So going back with the water, I want to hear what everyone thinks in the comments. Is that Poseidon or is that Percy controlling the water? Because at the very beginning, it was being used to fight people, but this time it saved Percy. Was he the one doing that, or was it Poseidon all along?
That's a good point. Now, I think in this particular instance, it was definitely Poseidon.
Yeah, but it was done in the same way, which I'm sure that would make sense. But with Percy having no clue how to do it, it wouldn't look as fluid as the god of waters would be. So
yeah, I think given the state, this is my thought. Given the state of panic, Percy doesn't seem to be even worried about the water. He's in a very, flying. I think it makes way more sense than anything that had to do with like the water powers or effects came from Poseidon. And I think it adds to the story of the dynamic between Poseidon and Percy a lot better than just having Percy do it, and then Poseidon shows up at the end, or like his nymph or his spirit comes up at the end.
That does make it kind of better.
So yeah, that's the way I look at it. But thank you guys all for watching. I will be putting out another, positives, negatives, questionable, probably next week before the next episode. And, some people did comment on that, like, it's too early. You can't be doing these like this early in the season. And I'm like, yes and no, because they're going to change, right? Like Annabeth changed in this episode. She was a negative for like the last 2 videos, but I think she's in a better place now.
Slowly improving.
Yes. But thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.